Yo, 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 what is up, guys? It is your boy SKFC back with another video. Today, we're going to be talking about Sunderland Football Club and just why the hell are these guys doing as good as they've been doing. For those of you that don't know, Sunderland Football Club just were recently promoted from the championship this season after nearly 10 years out of the Premier League, and they currently find themselves right now in sixth place in the league, which for the Premier League in 2025 is especially impressive when you consider just how hard it has been for newly promoted teams to actually stay in this division. The last six promoted teams have actually been relegated from the division. So for Sunderland to be able to do what they've been doing, with that context in mind, just makes it even more impressive. And I think where we have to start, if we're going to analyze exactly why this group of players have been so successful, has been in their defense. They have had the sixth best defense in the league. They're a team that concede low possession, so they're not a team that likes to really dominate the ball like that. As you can see by their possession stats, they're 18th in the league in possession. So that means that they, of course, have to work extremely hard off of the ball. They're a team that have, distinctive ways of pressing. Their team that when they press, they like to kind of utilize this weird pseudo man-to-man press where they're not looking to be ultra aggressive, and they're more so just looking to shepherd teams towards a particular zone that would be disadvantaged for their opponent to try to build up from. And you can kind of see that even when you're looking at their defensive statistics. They're not a team that jumps out at you in terms of winning the ball back. As you can see here, they rank 13th in that endeavor. However, like I showed you with the picture against Wolves, they're a team that will isolate and look for specific players to try to target and force you to build up with. They did this against Wolves. They did this again in the game against Chelsea as well. As you can see by this picture, they again are looking to force the pass in certain zones. That way they are in control of how the other team is going to build up. Something that's very interesting about the Black Cats is just how good they actually are in the second half of games. In fact, they're so much better in the second half of games that about 70% of their goals are scored in the second half. As you can tell by this table, they've scored 17 goals overall, and 12 of them have come in the second half. So that tells me that they're a team that gets better as the game goes on. They have good resilience, and that, no matter how badly they start games, the manager is able to instill a sense of belief and self-confidence that they'll be able to get back into games. Their home form has also been really good as well. They are still unbeaten at home, and they have the fifth most points at home this season. And they've had multiple games where they've had to come back from leads to either salvage a point or win all three. Just this weekend, they came back from 2 goals down against Bournemouth to win the game 3-2. They had that game against Arsenal in which they equalized in the last minute. I want to say that game was also at home as well. Yes, it was. And so, when you combine that with their resilience in the second half, this is a team that is able to make their home a fortress. And another thing that is very interesting about Sunderland as well is that when it comes to actually, getting leads, they're one of the best teams at holding on to the leads that they have. So essentially when they've taken the lead in 7 games this season, and only one of those games have they conceded an equalizing goal. So, this is a team that when they're up on you, you're going to have a terrible time trying to, get back into the game. And I think this has to do, of course, with their defensive solidity and the fact that every player is just bought into the system. I mean, you look at a picture like this. This was Bournemouth after Sunderland were able to come back and lead them in the game, and you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players in the box. All players bought into, that defensive discipline. And then that's what's also aided them in the fact that this season they've had one of the best, even statistically, one of the best expected goals per shot ratio. So that means that the quality of the chances that they give up to their opponent is relatively good compared to the rest of the teams in the league. So they're not giving up high opportunity chances as equally. However, with all of the praise I've given them, there are still some concerns about the team, specifically in the context of seeing if they can actually keep this position that they're in right now of being 6th place in December, which again for a newly promoted club is insane. Some concerns I would probably have for Sunderland, again, if they're trying to maintain, being a team that is trying to fight for European places, which again should not even really be their goal, considering they were just promoted, is the fact that their creative metrics are just lacking, right? Even though they are average in terms of goals scored this season, right? their possession is quite low, being only 18%. So that still limits the amount of influence they can have in a game at a time. Because of course, if you control the ball, you control the pace of the game, and the other team has to react to what you're doing. You look at their creative metrics. XG has them down in 17th. In terms of shots on target, they're second to last. In terms of big chances, they're 14th. Right. So, you look at a lot of those metrics, and, you think about the fact that they tend to concede first in a lot of their games. They've conceded first in about 8 of their 13 matches. Their ability to come back and fight spiritedly while valiant is not something that I see them being able to sustain over the course of a 38-game season. I think they're going to get to a point where they're going to find themselves in the holes that they're not going to be able to dig themselves out of. However, with that being said, I think, looking at what you would expect from this team coming into the beginning of the season, right, given the fact that, like I said, most of the last 6 promoted teams have just gone straight back down to the championship. You really can't ask for more than what they've given you. And I think right now they're technically on pace to finish with about somewhere between 50 to 60-ish points, which again, like if they end up doing it, that would be really good considering where they came up with. But I think realistically they're probably gonna finish somewhere in this like 10 to 15 range. I don't see them being a club that will be able to sustain what they're doing right now. I just think there are too many teams below them that I think are better than them. Just overall, like I think United are better than them. I think Liverpool are better than them, even though they're going through their struggles. I think Crystal Palace are better than them. Tottenham, Newcastle. I think there's just too many teams that I see being able to reach another gear that the Sunderland team right now has not shown me that they'll be able to reach. However, again, 10th to 15th for a team that was just promoted in a league that has been discarding promoted teams like the turd off of a shoe. I think that's still valiant. I think that's still something to be proud of. So, that's going to be it for my video on the Sunderland. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And most importantly, remember to have a good day.